Nice. How's it going, everyone? David from dodmedia. Today we're going to be reviewing the brand new Moza Slypod Pro. Let me just retract this at its slowest speed. So press that, 1, 2. Okay, that's nice and slow. Let's talk about some of the key features. First of all, its maximum extension. It's twice as long as the original Slypod. You can now extend to 53 centimeters, which is massive. It's also extremely durably built, although being very lightweight, so very transportable, entirely carbon fiber. The motor inside is very, very powerful. It's even more powerful vertically than it is horizontally, but horizontally I've been able to put my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K minimalist handheld rig on there, which has the Blackmagic, it has a cage, it has a V-lock, it has a Ninja 5, it has a top handle. It's a heavy rig. So let's have a look at a few different shooting scenarios, a few different ways that we can set this up to achieve some pretty cool stuff. Now I want to start this off first of all with the usual disclaimer, which is that I have not been paid to say any of this. Moza have simply sent me this before the launch to play with. I've had it for about a month and all they want are my ideas, my thoughts, my review for you guys in case you want to get it. And as always, it's an honest review, which means that I will talk about its shortcomings. I don't generally agree to review items if I think that they're crap. I'll just tell the manufacturer I don't want to review them. So you can rest assured that if I'm reviewing this, it's because it's pretty damn good. The reason I didn't review the original Slypod was that I didn't think it was pretty damn good. This one, however, is. And so we're going to be looking at what its strengths are and what its weaknesses are. Now I mentioned that I had my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K rig on there. And you might notice that that is not this camera that you're seeing right now. This is the A6500. The reason for that being that I want to be able to show you how this operates just with, just the slider, but also when we decide to do the linkage control by adding the Moza Aircross 2 so that we can have this work as a motorized jib, not just a slider. Now, in terms of some of the hardware features, first of all, I want to draw attention to this new head that they've put on there. The original Slypod had a clicking head, which drove me nuts because it meant you only had you had a finite amount of variable angles that you could shoot from, and the clicks were quite big increments of degrees, so really it was a bit useless. You just had to replace it with a different video head. However, this is nice and fluid, and it can rotate in any direction that you want. So that's really nice. You don't need to replace it now. And it's nice and solid. Once it's locked down, it's not going anywhere. And then on the other side of the slider, you'll see this long-legged monopod tripod, like these two that are on here, except that this one is extremely long-legged. I mean, the surface area it covers is bonkers, which means that you're going to get a lot more stability than you would using these things here, which is nice considering you're going to be putting a bit of valuable kit on it. It also features this nice quick release, so you lift this latch up and then you can move this around, the ball head around in any direction. And then if you just drop that back down, it clicks back into the center and you'll never move that in your life. And like the Slypod Pro, it is extremely lightweight. This weighs, I don't actually know what it's made of, but it feels like it's sort of aircraft aluminium. That's how light it is. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at the onboard controls and what kind of control we can get just using this, and then we'll jump into the app. So it essentially comes with 3 buttons. You've got a power button, which you can hold to power on or off. You can press it twice to stop whatever movement you're doing, or you can press it 3 times to return to home, which is this. Then you've got a little camera port, which comes with all of the oodles of cables that you will need to connect your camera, which I don't use because I never connect my camera. I just don't. Then you've got plus and minus, which is to retract or extend the Slypod Pro. So the fastest extension, I'm gonna get this one right. So the fastest extension speed, if I press and hold this plus button, that's the fastest. That's pretty fast. The fastest retraction speed is, the same but in reverse. And if you press the plus button while it's retracting, it slows down that retraction. So let's do it again with the extension, but I'll slow it down. Pretty sure that's the slowest one that you can manually do. If I press it again, I think it'll just stop. Yeah. And then likewise, retraction, you hold the minus button and then just press the plus to reduce how quickly that retracts. Now, this is an extremely slow movement, which I was very impressed by. Something with sliders, everyone's always wondering what's the fastest it can do. Quite often my question is what's the slowest it can do? Because I like having very subtle movement, and if I put a long lens on this, very slow movement is going to create a big parallax, regardless of what distance you're working on. And then finally, underneath here, you have a USB-C port to charge it or power it continuously. I don't know what the spec of the battery is or how long it would last, but put it this way, I've never run out of battery. You wouldn't expect to have to stop shooting to charge it to then carry on using it. It should last you the day, at least. Then in terms of mounting options, you've got 2 3/4 20 inches here and 2 1/4 20 inches here, as well as 2 3/4 and 2 1/4 inches here. And what's interesting is they've even built it in as Arca Swiss plates directly on the hardware, which means that here you can see I'm not having to mount an external quick release plate onto this to then attach it to this Arca Swiss plate. I can just mount it directly. So less wiggle room means more stability. And of course, the head itself up here is also Arca Swiss. And then finally, down the end here, you've got another 1/4 20 to attach those little monopod legs or, monitor or whatever you want to attach, external power supply, you name it. So let's just do a couple of little recordings at the maximum speeds, at the minimum speeds, just to show you the stability of having it mounted directly on the Slypod Pro by itself. All right, I think we're ready to rock and roll. Let's just adjust this a little bit. Okay. So, maximum extension speed. And minimum retraction speed. You can see there's no shakes, that is just nice and solid, nice and stable. All of these clips obviously have no post-production stabilization. So one of the immediate advantages of having this as an extendable or retractable slider compared to a conventional slider is that this can extend or retract above something. So if I were to bring this down vertically like so, let's turn this over here and hit record. Well, now I can have this go vertically above whatever's on my table. So for top-down shots, fantastic. This is just something that's not possible with a conventional slider, or at least not easily. So similarly to the Laowa probe lens, This allows you to probe things. It allows you to enter areas that are not easily entered by conventional gear. Now, if I load up the Moza Master app and connect the Slypod Pro, well then a lot more options become available to me in terms of movements, in terms of time-lapse segmentation, or even just keyframing movements back and forth. But the big variable that gets added for me is the maximum minimum speeds and control within those sections. Instead of having to click 4 times, I literally have from 0 to 100%. Okay, so let's move this into a position where I can show you just how slow or fast this movement is. Okay, I'm gonna set the speed to 1 just to show you how ridiculously slow this is. Let's hit record and start retracting it at 1 speed. Now, to the naked eye, this isn't even moving. But if you are a macro enthusiast and you have your Lauer Pro 24mm mounted on this and you're spying on some ants in their ant's nest, this will be the subtlest of movement that will give you a beautiful parallax without having to worry about setting up a conventional slider that is poking into something that you have to have tripods down for. You can have your tripods down far away from the nest, no problem. This is just so slow you don't even think anything's happening. All right, let's bring it up to maybe 3%. Okay, that's 3 times faster. That's better. Let's bring it up to maybe, I don't know, 40%. That's much faster. But regardless of what speed you're using, it's going to be very stable provided you have it anchored properly as you would a normal slider. So then if you head over to acceleration mode, there's some pretty interesting stuff here as well. You can set your maximum speed. Let's say maximum speed of about 45. And then if I press downwards, it will automate an acceleration from nothing, from the slowest speed, all the way up to that 45% max speed that we've set. Which is pretty nice if if you're wanting to show accelerated movement. Now it also features a silent mode which you can activate, and if you activate that, but that is, a lot more quiet than it was. I don't exactly know what the pros and cons of activating silent mode are, whether it uses more battery or what, but it's certainly quieter. Okay, now let's have a look at linkage control. So I'm going to remove the camera. I'm going to stick it on the gimbal, balance it. All right, so now my A6500 is nicely balanced on the Aircross 2. So I can go ahead and bring this up. And mount it on there. I'm just going to move it out of the way of my microphone because I don't want the mic to get hit. Now I know it's a little bit out of frame and I apologize for that. I don't want to have to move everything around just to show you this, but you'll see it through the linkage control anyway. So now I'm just going to go ahead and connect my Aircross 2. Go back into my Slypod. Hit linkage control, confirm, hit the plus button up there, add my Aircross 2, and change that motion time lapse to track recording. Now essentially I have control over the Slypod and the Aircross within the app. It's a little bit finicky. I don't like how they've designed it, and I'm talking to Moza at the moment to see if I can help them redesign it to be something a little bit more streamlined, like the Rhino app for the Arc 2, where everything is just available to you on that one user interface. But for now, this is what it is. So first of all, I'm going to go into the Aircross 2 and I'm going to adjust my A point. So let's have it looking at the camera again. Okay, then I'm going to switch to segmentation, which is the Slypod Pro. And now Before I do anything else, I'm going to add a little weight to the end of this just to keep it properly stabilized, because I don't want to have the weight of this balancing it down, and I'm just going to keep my arm on it just for safety. So now I'll extend this out. Let's extend it out to about there. Switch back to waypoint, and now just readjust this a little bit more so that the angle fits the second keyframe point that I want. Okay, that's cool. So I select my second keyframe, I choose the arrival time, meaning the duration of the movement. Let's make it 20 seconds. Then I switch back to segmentation and I change the arrival time there to 20 seconds as well. Again, it's a little bit annoying. It's not streamlined that you have to do it in two different places, but c'est la vie. Now I hit setup completed and I hit start, and it should return to 0 to initiate the move. Except it's not. See, this is the issue that I have with this app, is that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Half the time I'd say it works and half the time it doesn't. So all you have to do is cancel that move and just start it again until it actually does what it's meant to do. Usually the second time it works. Now, as soon as it's returned to home, it's going to start. Unless it doesn't, like right now. The gimbal's making its move, but the slider is not. So let's confirm exit shoot again and start again and see if it can do it the third time. No. Gimbal's doing its move, but the slider just does not want to. So let's see. Third time, fourth time, fifth time. I've forgotten what one we're on now. Fifth time lucky, maybe? See if it does it. All right. And as you can see, when it works really well. I mean, that's a sub $1,000 motorized jib. But the question is, would you want to spend that $1,000 to get a motorized jib and slider? $600 for the Slypod Pro, $400 for the Aircross 2, to get something that works only like half the time? That's down to you, only you can answer that question. The next contender really is the Edelkrone Jib 1, which altogether is like 3 times the cost of this. I think personally, I would not feel comfortable using this in a professional shoot. However, around the studio, I don't mind. Around the studio, it works perfectly for my needs. But on a job, I would probably not rely on this until the app is fixed and more reliable. So there you go. That is my honest opinion of this. It's a fantastic piece of hardware, which combined with the Aircross 2, which is also a fantastic gimbal for lightweight cameras, they can achieve beautiful results. But its one real Achilles heel is the app that controls the whole thing together. There's no other way of getting these moves made without using the app, and the app is flawed. And it's taken me not 1, not 2, but 3 attempts to record this review, because every time I want to talk about how awesome the hardware is, the shortfall is that I have to show how awesome the hardware is through the app, and the app is flawed. The app is not awesome. So I can't, I want to recommend it, but I can't recommend it until the app is fixed. Once the app is fixed, I highly, highly recommend it. It is a phenomenal piece of hardware. And apps can change overnight. Apps can be redeveloped, redesigned, and sent out to the millions of people who have it downloaded, and they get it instantly, and there they have this new user interface to work with. But until that's done, this is a flawed piece of kit. At least if you plan on using it in Linkage Control with the Aircross 2. Just by itself, the app works perfectly to control it, as you saw. You can do everything and anything, and you can get, the full extent of what these motors in here can do. But if you plan on using it for Linkage Control, then I would probably suggest waiting until the app gets a little bit of a facelift and the control and reliability are just a little bit more there. So there you go. That is my honest review. Leave a comment down below to tell me how you would use this. If you used the original Slypod with the Aircross 2 in Linkage Control, what your experiences were. Were they similar to this in terms of bugginess? I don't know. If you are interested in getting your hands on the Slypod Pro, there will be a link in the description, which is an affiliate link, which will generate some income for me as a commission without charging you anything extra so that you can keep these reviews coming. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.